Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, 3. Mic check. Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, she thinks it was trauma, like, just, and it's so weird, so we think the other cat fought with her, a kitty had it, scab and stuff. And so it's healing, and she's got a blank spot and she's seems fine. So she didn't think of anything to worry about. Good. That seems to be improving. We were just cat scared. That's gross. And they were fungal. And that's contagious, so great. But, you know, if that happens, then it's bad. So that's more preventative. That's good. But like, we were gone for those 5 days. Serena, who watches the kitties for us, texted me. She goes, Maya has it. And Maya's the only friend of the cat, right? Maya has this back of her neck. And I kind of, but when other people are around about your animals, that can be, maybe I should pay attention to it.
Considering.
Good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for being here with us today. My name is Stephanie Marsh. I'm the Director of Communications for the City of Akron. We have a few announcements and updates for you today. You're going to be hearing from Akron Mayor Shammas Malik and our Deputy Chief for Police, David Laughlin. Akron Police Chief Brian Harding is out of the office this week, so you will not be hearing from him. At this time, I'd like to welcome up Akron Mayor Shammas Malik.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we are here to provide some information as we understand the circumstances today about an incident which occurred last week at Firestone High School between a student and a school resource officer. So on the morning of Wednesday, October 16th, a 16-year-old student bypassed the metal detectors as he entered Firestone High School. The student was escorted back to the metal detectors by Firestone staff. School policy at Firestone mandates that every person entering the building pass through the metal detectors. There were 2 Akron police officers at Firestone that morning. One was a school resource officer, and another was there on a secondary employment shift. Surveillance camera footage from the school depicts the student being directed towards the metal detector several times. At one point, the student attempts to circumvent the officers. The officers grapple with the student. During this interaction, one of the officers punches the student in the head several times. Akron Public Schools requested, per our agreement, that the assigned school resource officer be removed from Firestone and from the SRO program. He has now been assigned to administrative duty. The city is currently in the process of finding a new school resource officer for Firestone and intends to complete this as soon as possible. The other officer, the officer who did not strike the student, he is on his regular patrol shift. Initially, the student was charged with resisting arrest, obstructing official business, and trespass. Since then, we've spoken with the Summit County Prosecutor's Office, and they have agreed to dismiss those charges without prejudice while the use of force investigation takes place. There's surveillance camera footage that I'm referring to is a record of Akron Public Schools. Any release of the video will come from them. We will defer to them on that. I found the video upsetting. I expect many others will as well. We do not have APD body cam footage due to APS policy. The Akron Police will conduct an internal use of force review. We will continue to investigate this incident in its entirety. Once finalized, that report will be shared with our independent police auditor, Mr. Fennell, and with the Citizens Police Oversight Board. As the investigation unfolds, we will continue to provide updates to our community and share more as we are able to. I want to stop and just note, I recognize that many people may not trust this process. I want to affirm that I take a fair and complete process very seriously. I also wanted to speak about another issue. This morning, our city announced a legal settlement with the family of Jalen Walker over the officer-involved shooting that resulted in his death. In seeking to responsibly settle this claim and upon the best recommendation of the City Law Department, the city has agreed to pay the Walker family $4.85 million in a series of 4 installments over the next 4 years. Beyond this settlement, I want to take a moment and reflect on this. The video that we saw and the entire incident brought significant pain and trauma to our community. I said then, and I say again today, that we need systemic changes to our policing system to improve policy, practices, training, and culture, to ensure that we do everything we can to avoid tragic incidents, to make sure our community sees policing that is effective, accountable, and treats everyone with dignity and respect, no matter their race, no matter who they are. Over the last several years, we've taken a number of steps as a city towards these goals, but we have a long way to go. At the end of 2022, our community voted to pass the Issue 10 Charter Amendment to create a Citizens Police Oversight Board and to strengthen our Police Auditor's Office. Today, that office is fully staffed, and truly independent of the mayor's office, actively reviewing cases and providing recommendations that we have committed to responding to. There will be many times when we agree. There will be times when we disagree. But that is something, that office and that role, that's something that I and everyone who follows me in this job will have to reckon with. That is real change. In April, Chief Harding and I also announced that we had updated our vehicle chase policy following APD's own internal review of that policy. Our department no longer conducts vehicle chases for equipment violations alone, such as a broken side mirror or taillight. Earlier this year, we settled a lawsuit from the Akron Bail Fund regarding an incident which took place in the summer of 2023. I've been clear about my intention to work with the Akron Police Department to work on policies, including those related to mass gatherings, and as a part of that settlement, the city agreed to update and implement policies surrounding crowd management. So we plan to work with a national expert, Spencer Fomby, to assist us with reviewing this policy. He is an expert in this field as a 22-year law enforcement veteran and a police use of force instructor for 15 years. He was selected to serve on the Department of Homeland Security First Responder Resource Group. And as part of that engagement, we are also going to be including community voice and community engagement as part of that process. As I said last week, we plan to undertake a thorough review of our use of force policy. This has been a central recommendation from our police auditor's office over the last 6 months, and it's something that both myself and Chief Harding are committed to addressing. I believe the systemic change that we want and frankly we need to see in our department requires external assistance to make sure we get it right and also that our community feels they can trust results. Our administration has been engaging in discussions with national experts who conduct investigations and reviews to determine the best path forward. We have also reached out to the Department of Justice's Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services for assistance. This office within the Department of Justice recently conducted a comprehensive review of Columbus's use of force policies. We have not submitted a formal request with their office yet, but we have engaged in those early conversations. My goal in this review is to collaborate and partner with external experts to assist the city into taking a deep dive, not just into policies, but into practice, training, and culture, so that we can strengthen and improve our department, build trust and mutual respect between our community and law enforcement, and most importantly, help ensure the best outcomes possible. This review will require engagement with all stakeholders, including both our department, our auditor's office, our council members, the police union, advocacy organizations, faith leaders, and many more, as well as interested residents in every neighborhood. I believe that by partnering with these types of national firms and organizations, we can ensure that this work begins immediately and also allows us the flexibility to partner with a variety of entities. A lot of people ask me what change means. I believe this systemic review is the next step we must take. This is not about conversations for the sake of conversations. This is about a long-term commitment to changing our policies, practices, training, and culture, changing our system for the better. This will not happen quickly. I'm not asking people for their patience, but I am asking that we as a community prioritize this with our time, with our resources, with our energy. I believe it is necessary to make our city a safer and stronger place. At this time, I'd like to invite Akron Police Deputy Chief Laughlin to say a few words.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mayor. As was stated, Chief Harding is away this week and unable to join us today, but I'm happy to be here to represent the Akron Police Department. I'll keep my remarks brief today, as I want to reserve my full judgment until all the facts are known and the internal review has been completed per our use of force procedure. The Akron Police Department is always striving to maintain a standard of excellence. This is evident in the announcement made last week by Chief Harding that we'll be training the department in ICAT, which is Integrating Communication, Assessment, and Tactics. This is a use of force guide designed to train police officers in how to respond to volatile situations in which subjects are behaving erratically and often dangerously, but do not possess a weapon. The Akron Police Department is always researching the best practice in policing, which is continuously evolving. The mayor's legislation to bring in an outside organization is in alignment with this effort, and Chief Harding and the police department will support this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you both. Before we get into questions, I just want to acknowledge and thank the interpreters from Greenleaf who are here today to assist us with today's press conference. We are going to get into questions now. I would just ask that you keep them to one question at a time before asking follow-ups. Allow other media outlets to ask their questions as well. And just be aware there is an ongoing investigation, so we may not have answers to everything right now. So, go ahead.
Whoever would like to answer, I'd just like want to know more about this officer time on the department, his time spent with the Akron schools.
Sure. The incident for this, the incident report for this incident will be released by the end of the day, and the personnel files for the officers will be available for public records request. So I don't have anything for you further than that.
In reading the report, it says that they later found a cell phone on the student. Was there a new cell phone policy, and did the school resource officer ever ask the student to remove anything from his pockets or anything like that before he went through that first time?
So I don't know on the second piece, right? What was said and what was not. The investigation will speak to that. My understanding is that there was a cell phone that was found, and that school policy is that cell phones are not permitted. So that may have been what gave rise to this incident.
All right, so this is an incredible sensitive topic for us as a network. 3 to go. We've got a senior who's a videographer on our network. She's been a part of our team for 4 years. She was actually in line to witness that incident, along with my son as well. So I'm coming to you as both a media person as well as a parent right now, okay? This is a contained zone. This isn't like something out in public where they're at a concert or they're in an open environment. They are already going into a school. This person, whoever this student is on their way into learning environment. And whatever happened took place, but at the end of the day, I guess the question that we have is, why would force be needed in an environment that is already a contained environment? This isn't like something that is happening out in the open. They're literally going through metal detectors, okay? And again, I'm trying to calm myself down as a parent, as 2 kids, my kids, witnessed this happen in person. They were directly behind. This is homecoming week, and they are literally walking into the door a little bit late because they were getting dressed up into their costumes for homecoming week.
Be cognizant of everybody's time, if you could.
That's the question. In a contained environment, why did this happen in a contained environment?
Scott, I appreciate you sharing the personal connection there, and I imagine many people have these personal connections. You know, it's the school I went to. I'm not going to characterize the incident beyond what I did now. We do want to make sure that folks have the opportunity to see for themselves with the video. And those are questions that I imagine people are going to be asking. Those are questions that are very understandable. And it is an upsetting video to watch.
Doug?
In these upcoming community conversations with experts, what are you hoping to learn from those community engagements and engagements with policing experts? What are you hoping to learn from those that you don't know now?
I think that, you know, certainly we're not starting from square one, right? There are recommendations from the Racial Equity Social Justice Task Force. There are recommendations from the PERF report in the early 2010s. There have been lots of conversations, right? But I will say that there is always a need to engage people and get perspective, right? And so as we look at these specific issues, right, I think sometimes when we talk about things, for instance, when we had the police chief search process, right, it was a panoply of things, and some things were about training, and some things were about recruitment, and some things were about use of force, right? What we need is to go through a focus process where we're reviewing specific policies, specific areas. So like I said, we've already agreed to focus on the crowd management, and the biggest focus is going to be around use of force. And so focusing conversations there, asking people for their feedback. It's not like we're just, part of the idea of going in and engaging a national expert, an organization that does these kinds of reviews, is so that they can help us on the front end. We're not just going to set up a bunch of chairs and say, what do you folks think the answer should be, right? We're going to do the work on the back end and then get input and feedback, meaningful input and feedback, but again, around specific topics. But again, with the goal not just of conversation for conversation's sake, but to actually change things about our policy, practices, and training around use of force.
Go ahead.
Mayor, you encourage people to watch, the community to watch the video. I wonder, but you also said that Akron Public Schools is the custodian of the video. Are you encouraging and expecting Akron Public Schools to release the video?
Akron Public Schools and the city have been working together very productively around this incident. And I appreciate, I've spoken with Dr. Robinson several times. It is, as Scott mentioned, there are a lot of students who are in that video. And so it is not a simple thing to redact and go through that process. I will leave it to APS. I trust APS to work through that.
Andrew?
This may be a question for you, Deputy Chief, but I'm curious about what sort of training the Akron Police Department has for school resource officers who are going to be interacting on a daily basis with vulnerable populations of minors. Is there any training? If so, is that training going to be under review?
So when they act in the capacity of a school resource officer, they're under the direction of the Akron Police Department and the OPATA standards as a groundwork and a foundation. There are some additional trainings they go through that's a part of the state and national school resource organization. So there is some training and some advanced training that they do go through also, correct.
Just a quick follow-up. Has this officer ever been involved in any other use of force incidents at a CLC in Akron before?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like I say, as the mayor said, that'll be a part of, if you want to put a public records request for personnel files or additional information, but I'm not sure of that right now.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Anna, go ahead.
I might have missed it, but was the student injured, hospitalized? Can you talk about that?
I'm going to refer that to APS.
In the back?
Yeah, just to follow up on what Andrew said, is there a specific procedure that APD and APS have worked on that what if a student does decline to go through the metal detector, what should happen? How should that kind of a thing be handled? Is there a written procedure for that or a policy?
I believe, and I haven't had a chance to research all of it, but there is an APS document handbook on how screening is conducted, but I can't speculate on what that is. That's a document that's an APS document, so I'm not sure what that is.
Is there any communication like to your officers about like, hey, you're going to be in charge of getting 800 kids to these metal detectors in the morning? How do you handle it on a daily basis if
Yeah.
if a kid resists or declines or beeps? What are they told to do?
Yeah. Again, that's a part of the document. The officers aren't the primary part of the screening process. There's staff members, there's security teams, a part of APS, so it's a collaborative team effort in that, but as far as the expectation of everybody, that would be outlined in the handbook from Akron Public Schools.
And I'd just like to follow up. These screenings are relatively new, right? we are, this is an area that we are going to work on going forward, because all of these issues, cell phones and yonder bags, the screenings and metal detectors, the staffing and security needs, they've all been evolving and changing pretty significantly over the last few years. And so the school resource officer contract that the city and APS have was already set to expire at the end of the year. We are going to be continuing to work with APS going forward on trying to partner and continue to improve those processes.
Yes, ma'am.
So, from what I'm hearing from you, are you saying that this stemmed from a student not liking the cell phone policy, or stemming from the cell phone policy with APS?
It may have been a student attempting to bring in a cell phone and not wanting to give up the cell phone. I don't have that for sure for you, but there was a phone that was recovered, so that may well have been it.
Brace, you had a question?
Going to the Walker family lawsuit, how much of that settlement will be coming out of the city, like from the city's insurance, and how will that affect rates?
The city is not insured for those kinds of claims, and so that will be coming from taxpayer dollars. I imagine it's something that there will be strong feelings about across the board. This was a decision that was undertaken, in an attempt to protect city's financial interests, as well as to resolve this claim that was outstanding. And so it's not a small decision. It was a decision that, our law department, our finance department, and others, weighed in on.
Go ahead, Doug.
I'm wondering, you mentioned that the second officer involved in the Firestone incident was working a secondary shift. Can you elaborate more on that? Is it typical for schools to hire officers, additional officers, not a part of their traditional role in the department?
Yes. There's a program called Police in the Schools, PITS, and there are instances where whether it's during the course of a day or whether it's after school. I knew Firestone had homecoming this weekend, where officers may be requested for those kinds of things.
And just to clarify, do we know which officer threw the punches?
Yes, it will be in the incident report.
The normal school resource officer?
The school resource officer who
Not the
was,
guy in secondary, the
yes.
person on
Yeah.
the secondary employment?
Jen,
In
go
the
ahead.
back.
Is this prompting any deeper discussions with APS about having officers in the schools, what their roles should be, if they should be there, when they should be there? Because you mentioned the contract expiring. I mean, is this prompting a larger conversation?
It is going to, yes.
Andrew?
So you mentioned that the officer, the SRO involved in the incident, has been assigned to administrative duty and has been removed from Firestone. Is this forever? Will he be back as an SRO once the investigation is cleared?
Per the agreement, Akron Public Schools can request that officers be removed from a specific school or from the program. So to the extent that they have done that, we don't have any intention of bringing him back there or attempting to. He's on administrative duty. There is an ongoing use of force investigation. We will let that investigation play out.
But he will not be back because I just want to make sure I understand. Because APS requested that he is not back at any APS properties, he will not be in the future.
Yes, I'm not going to say a year from now APS says that they're okay with it or something, but yes, that is what they requested. That per the agreement is what we've done.
Thank you.
Yep.
Are you aware, have there been any complaints about this SRO officer by parents or other students in the past?
Not to my direct knowledge, but I wouldn't necessarily be aware of any specific complaint. So again, I would refer you to the personnel file.
And you met with the school district this morning, is that right?
No, I've spoken with Dr. Robinson several times since Wednesday, and we've been our teams have been in pretty constant communication.
Other questions?
I have a follow-up question as well. I got a statement from someone on the Board of Education. It says, now is the time to distinguish the roles of school security versus street policing. So for officers, how do you distinguish that to your officers, the difference between playing school security and then street policing?
So I guess part of this is in the selection process. Akron Public Schools is very active in the selection process, actually interview our officers and are part of, an integral part of the selection process. So they handpick the officers that they want and from those who bid for the position. As a part of what they receive in training and guidance from supervision, and they do an excellent job of being community partners in the schools, building relationship with the students. I can give you numerous opportunities where students have come to the school resource officers about a crime that's happened in their community to resolve it. So officers do a tremendous job in those partnerships and relationships. But yes, it is a fine line of when do you become you need to take police action, and that relationship building with the students, because they are Akron police officers and are expected to take police action when necessary. So it's definitely a fine balance of where that is, but the biggest role is to be good ambassadors of the police department in the city and those roles within the schools.
Were either of the two officers involved on Wednesday engaged with, were they assigned to Firestone events or at the school after Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, today?
I don't believe so, no. No.
At school or school events?
What I would say, the school resource officer was not. I don't believe the other officer was, because again, he was on a secondary employment job. So I believe that's the case.
Again, so the two officers that were involved have not been on Firestone, the school grounds, or have not been assigned to any event tied to Firestone High School since that incident on Wednesday.
I would assume that to be correct, but if you want to give me your contact information, I can follow up afterwards to verify, but it's my understanding they have not, but I don't want to say with 100% certainty that they were or were not. Like I said, the one was on a secondary employment job, and then, like you said, there are a number of events at the school, but I can verify that and let you know.
We can confirm that for the school resource officer. Again, we can confirm that as well. We can double check that for the other officer.
Mayor, can you characterize your communications with APS about this, around this incident, and kind of how it unfolded and what the different roles are and how they reacted?
I don't know beyond what I have, which is that it has been, they've been very communicative. I appreciate the communication, and we've just tried to be collaborative in terms of, getting information together. I believe APS is putting out a statement, and so we've just been, sharing information to the extent that we have it. We both, this incident kind of involves two organizations, so I really appreciate the responsiveness of Dr. Robinson and his team.
Have you had any conversation or meetings with the student or their family, and how did that go?
I have not. Yeah.
Anyone else with a question? Yeah.
Other than the cell phone, were any weapons or anything found on the student?
No, which is what leads me to believe that it may have been regarding the cell phone. But again, I can't know that for sure.
Were either of the officers involved in the Jalen Walker shooting?
No.
Anyone else with a question? Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. you go, homeboy.
A gentleman and a scholar.
How you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
Good.